Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Brendan and welcome back to the channel. I hope all of you guys are having a great day wherever you guys are from, because Bitcoin is getting ready for a massive move. In fact, these candle closings that we've seen over the past couple of days are indicating that this is coming very soon. So I guess a better way to put this question is this move going to be to the upside, or are we going to see another move to the downside? So that's exactly what I want to talk about in today's video. So if that does sound interesting, make sure you guys stick around for the entire length of the video, as there will be important information discussed the entire way through. But that being said, let's skip all the BS and dive right on into this, because there's a lot of information to talk about. So very clearly, Bitcoin has been bouncing between this 50 EMA on this 4-hour time scale and this 200 EMA on the 4-hour time scale. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think I mentioned these in just about every video. I even did in the last live stream that we made about a week ago. But Bitcoin seriously uses these guys as either support or resistance all the time. And we can see that very clearly since Bitcoin has broken down below this range. It has consistently used this 50 EMA as resistance on separate attempts to, really trying to break through this upside. And when it gets rejected from here, it falls back down towards the 200 EMA before bouncing multiple times like we have seen over the past couple of days, or even over the last week or so. One thing to notice is that volume is again falling off over here. That was one of the main indicators why I was saying I was actually bearish at Bitcoin above 57, 58K, because volume was declining and we were still continuing to climb higher. Again, there's a lot of other factors into that, but that was one of them. Volume is again falling off over here, and we are rejecting this 50 EMA while using this 200 EMA as support. Now, this is the first time that we've actually done this since we've gone all the way back to January about a month ago. So this really hasn't happened in really almost or over a month at this point, because I believe the last time that this happened was January 21st of 2021. Now, something that needs to be said here is that this EMA is falling, and if this yellow EMA, which is the 50 EMA, crosses over our pink/purple EMA, we're actually going to have a death cross on this 4-hour time scale, which I believe could be quite dangerous for Bitcoin if that does occur. There is some good news here in that if Bitcoin does want to break down below this 200 EMA, while I do believe it would be quite bloody if we start having candle body closings below this 200 EMA, the good news here is that that would not ultimately be a worst case scenario for Bitcoin, because we have the previous macro swing high for Bitcoin just around $41,000 to $42,000, and if we actually came down to this level, touched this and bounced, I think that actually could be a really good buying opportunity for Bitcoin, because again, this is a macro swing high that we would be bouncing off of, saying that former macro resistance has now turned will now have turned into macro support. Now, this is a very common theme that we see in Bitcoin and in a lot of these cryptocurrencies, is that I like to call it a break, hook, and go. It breaks through resistance, tests it as support, and then continues moving to the upside. So ultimately, I guess if I did have a downside target, it would be around 42,000, 41,000, because again, that's where the top of this range is going to be, the top of this previous range. Below that, again, we do have a lot of other pivot areas that we can fall into, but that would be my immediate target for Bitcoin. Now, in a bullish case scenario, we're going to bounce right off of this, which we're already seeing that there is some buying pressure over here on Bitcoin in a bullish case scenario, and we get back up here. Obviously, the main resistance is going to be this 50 EMA of around 50 to 51,000. This is going to be a little bit of a hard area to break, but I believe that if we actually break this area, I don't see any heavy resistance on Bitcoin to around 51, 52,000, and then above that, obviously, we have the all-time high of around 57 to 58,000. So if this breaks, I think that there is a lot of talk about Bitcoin heading to that 70K area, which is very, very possible. Again, if we start seeing a good amount of buying pressure come in here and kind of reverse this little rut that Bitcoin has been in and breaking above these EMAs, using them as support again and breaking this all-time high, I don't see why we can't start heading towards that 70K, 75K area, which is where the next major resistance levels are going to be psychologically. Now, one thing I do want to take a look at over here is this MACD, because we are very clearly painting a form of double bullish divergence, which is something that we haven't seen in, I guess, a little while, because the last time that we saw was this quadruple bullish divergence, which is something that I was longing in this area, as I mentioned in the previous video, or rather live stream. But we are also seeing this on the RSI, because we came from this oversold territory, had an attempt to the upside, and we are now bouncing at a higher swing low. Now, while this is not like officially confirmed yet, it does seem to look like we're seeing double bullish divergence on the MACD, the RSI, and we're seeing support on this candle chart, which gives me a lot of hope for Bitcoin. Now, when we see something like this happen and it does not play out in the bulls' favor, it is usually a bloodbath. And I want to be very clear about that. While all of this looks very, very bullish for Bitcoin, it looks convincing that Bitcoin could hold this 200 EMA. I would have a very, very tight stop loss in here, because if Bitcoin decides to tank through all of this and have another bloody Monday like the one that we saw last Monday, if it defies double bullish divergence on the MACD, the RSI, and the 200 EMA on this 4-hour time scale, I think that ultimately when that kind of divergence gets crushed, it usually turns into a bloodbath for Bitcoin. I want to take a minute and look at this on a daily chart, because we do have this 50 EMA on this daily chart, which conveniently is located right where this previous macro swing high is, at that 41 to 42K area on Bitcoin. So again, if Bitcoin does break down, I think that this is ultimately going to be a very strong support. I would be a little bit nervous if Bitcoin breaks that 42 to 41,000 area. I really don't want to see any candle body closings get below that, because that's where things could start to get ugly. And as we noticed on the last downfall for Bitcoin, Bitcoin had all its candle body closings bouncing off of this one day 50 EMA. Now, again, if the candle bodies get close below there, that will have been something that we have not seen in a very, very long time on Bitcoin, going back about almost 6 months ago, which we actually fell all the way down to the 200 EMA after breaking the 50 EMA. Now, if we break the 50 EMA and we want to go to the 200 EMA this time, that is going to lead us all the way down to around 26,000. Now, that is, if we want to measure that out, talk about a bloodbath, that would be about 43% to the downside, while this 50 EMA is only going to be about, 10% to the downside. Ultimately, I think it's going to be very, very important to hold that 42 to 41K area, because we have that macro previous swing high that needs to be used as what was formerly resistance, now turned support. And on top of that, you have this big 1-day 50 EMA that I think is very, very important to hold. We've held this for months. We've held it for the entire duration of this year. And I think that if we come test this and bounce off this, it could be a very, very healthy thing for Bitcoin if it holds, and a very deadly thing if it breaks. What we can actually see over here is that, volume is relatively neutral for the most part. While we are seeing it break down and kind of fall off on those lower time scales, I guess one could even argue that's just because we are going into the weekend. And while I usually post these videos the day after I record them, I think that this one's going to go up relatively fast after the recording takes place on Friday night. Moving back over to this 4-hour time scale, I want to go ahead and wrap up this video, but I think that the main takeaways here are watch the 50 EMA on that 1-day time scale, watch it on the 4-hour time scale, as well as the 200 EMA on that 4-hour time scale, and keep an eye on this support, because if the floor falls out, I think that we could get pretty bloody towards the top of that 40K area. And also, I'm looking at potentially a bounce here if we can hold this 200 EMA. So lots of stuff to talk about, lots of information that we went over. Hopefully you guys see now why I think a massive move is coming for Bitcoin, because if this bottoms out, obviously we're going to have a massive move to the upside. We're going to have a lot of buying come in here, but if the floor falls out, we are going to have a massive move to the downside. It's only a matter of time before Bitcoin can squeeze between these two EMAs and they turn into a Bollinger Band, but that is beside the point. So let me know your guys' thoughts on this situation. Obviously, there is a lot of information that I have loaded you guys up with, so hopefully it was not overloading or overbearing in any way. But again, this is all for educational purposes. None of this is legal, tax, or financial advice in any way. This is simply just my opinion on the market, and take it as so, I'm not your financial advisor. But hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. If you guys did, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this situation of Bitcoin in the comment section down below so that we can talk this out. If you guys are curious, you guys can join the Discord. I'll flash that up at the end of the video, and I will leave a link to that in the description down below as well, which is completely free. No strings attached. So hopefully you guys did enjoy. Again, I will see you guys in the next video.